It is our last day in January, and it's Friday. What better way to end the month than to end it talking about all the things that we've learned so far this month, specifically with our calendar grid and with Calendar Collector. So join with me. Let's get through it, and then it's the weekend, right? All right, January 29th is today, and look at the shape we have. A simple square. Area is 4 square units. Let's go ahead and look at what the weekend would look like. Ooh, another square. It's just bigger. What's the word we've been using? It's similar. Absolutely correct. And it is 4 times as large. So we should have 16. 4 times 4 is 16. And look, it's a 4 by 4, which absolutely equates to 16 square units. And then the 31st, we have another triangle. It is not an equilateral triangle. It looks like it might even be a scalene triangle. I don't know. But we've talked about different shapes as well this month. It's been really interesting looking at these shapes and trying to figure out the patterns. And so let's talk specifically about the big idea with looking at these shapes this month, okay? So we have a square today, and we would have a square tomorrow, and then a triangle, okay? And our square for today is 4 square units, and then the square for tomorrow, Saturday, would be 16, because our pattern is times 4. And that is the big idea this month. We actually are not, yes, we're looking at patterns, but we're also talking about multiplicative comparisons. So comparing things multiplicatively. So I'm going to show you some examples of what I mean by that by writing some equations to show multiplicative comparisons. And then I'm going to show you some equations, and I want you to tell me an example of what a multiplicative comparison would sound like. Okay? All right. First one says figure A has an area of 5 square units. Figure B has an area that's 6 times as large as figure A. What's the area? Well, how would we figure it out? What would we write? One's 5 square units, the other one's 6 times as big. Kind of gives you a hint in the wording of the problem, right? So it should be 5 times 6. And what is 5 times 6? Right. So our figure B is 30 square units. Right? Let's do another one. So figure C has an area of 9 square units. Figure D is 7 times as big as figure C. What's the area? Well, first we got to write our multiplicative comparison equation, which is 9 times 7. Yeah, what is 9 times 7? 63. So we would have 63 square units. So do you see what I mean by multiplicative comparisons? Something is a certain times as many as the first thing. And that's what we mean when we say multiplicative comparison. But let's look at this last one. Figure E has an area of 56 square units. Now we know the area. We're not finding the area. And it says it is 8 times as big as figure F. What's the area of figure F? Well, if we know the area and we know a dimension, what are we doing? What operation? Division. So I would have to say that this is 56 divided by 8. Well, what times 8 is 56? 8 times 7. So this time, our equation was a division equation. That's what was suggested by the problem. But we could use multiplication to figure it out, which is why it is still a multiplicative comparison. Okay, so now let me show you guys some problems and you see if you can make or create a multiplicative comparison for yourself. It doesn't have to be area, it could be anything. Like for the first one, 3 times 8 equals 24. Maybe I could say my son is 3 and I'm 8 times as old as he is. You try. Oh, by the way, that's not true. My youngest is 2 and I'm definitely not 8 times as old as he is. Awesome. That's a multiplicative comparison. So maybe something is 3 inches, something else is 8 times as many inches. All right, what about 7 times 6 equals 42? Yeah, so I could think of area again. So something is 7 square inches, something else is 6 times as many, which would give me 42 square inches. We're going to skip the 9 times 12 and talk about patterns. Since this month we looked at similar shapes, we looked at area, but we're also looking at the pattern. You guys studied the pattern, and that's how we figured out that the second shape was 4 times as many. So the subsequent number was 4 times as much as the first one. So let me give you a verbal pattern here. Let's say every second number is, we're multiplying by 2. And let's say we start with 2. What's our next number? 4. What would be our next number? Not 6, 8, because we're multiplying by 2. So it'll be 2, 4, 8. What about next? 16. You got it. 32. So our pattern there was times 2. So look at this pattern. What is happening? Yeah, 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. And again, you can think of our quarters. 5 quarters is $1.25 times 5. Whoa. So we talked about patterns. We've talked about similar shapes. And we talked about area this month. But more specifically, what we were doing was multiplicative comparisons. All right? Remember that term, and remember these types of problems, so that when you're reading word problems, you can recognize the different types of multiplication problems you are encountering. Okay, so let's also look at our calendar collector. And we've had 19 school days in January, and so that gives us 57 quarters, 57 fourths, and that means we have 14 and 1/4, right, which is $14.25. So let me ask you, would you have wanted to get the $10? Or did we get more money waiting? We definitely got more money waiting. I wish somebody would give me some money. Or maybe I'd find some somewhere. Or maybe I'd win the lottery. But it was definitely worth the wait to collect the 3/4 instead of just getting a lump sum at the beginning. So now what we're going to do is open up our workbook page. And we're going to do some work on our workbook page. And that is going to conclude our number corner for this month. It is on page 43. It's called Quarters and Dollars. And we're going to work through it. Really, I want you to work through it on your own, because I want to know, are you understanding the fractional ideas that have come out with our collector this month? Every day we collected 3/4, which is 3/4. There are 4 quarters in $1. And if we collect 3 of them, that's 3/4. So I want to see if you understood. I'd love for you to complete this page. Take a picture of it, send it to your teacher, so that she can see all the great work that you've been doing. Or maybe all the great work that you've been doing has shown on the number corner checkup that you should be finished by now. Hopefully you're finished. Are you finished? Right? So we're talking about fractions of $1. We already know what fraction of $1 is 1/4. I know you guys can do this. 1/4 is 1/4. 2/4 is 2/4, or 1/2. 3/4 is 3/4. So is a quarter a good name for 25 cents? Absolutely yes, because we have 4 of them. A quarter, 1/4, it's a quarter. And that's what we've come to know and understand. Anytime we talk about a fourth, we have 4 things, and we have 4 quarters that make up one whole dollar. I'm not going to write it down, but if you were paying attention, I just gave you the answers for number 1. Number 2, word problem. I want you to work it out. Number 3, it looks like a ratio table in a sense. We have $2, that's 8/4. So what's the relationship between these numbers? That's the other thing we've done this month. Relationships. We're multiplying by 4, because in every dollar we have 4 quarters. So if we have $6, we should have 6 times 4, we should have 24 quarters. Here comes a challenge. We know how many quarters. How many dollars is that? That's what we've been doing all month. When we had 32 quarters, if there was a day we had 32 quarters, it's like 32 divided by 4 to figure out how much money. Well, what's 32 divided by 4? Yeah, 8. 8 times 4 is 32. And look at the relationship. When you're going this way, the relationship is times 4, because there are 4 quarters in a dollar. But when you're going this way, it's times 2. Times 2. Do you see it? Or excuse me, not times 2. It's plus 2. My apologies. Plus 2. But when we go on the bottom, we're not adding 2 because we're adding $2 on top. And in each dollar, there are 4 quarters. So really, it's plus 8. You see what I'm doing? I might have even helped you with number 4. I'm not going to help you with number 5 because I want to see that you can do it. So take the rest of today, finish this workbook page, finish your number corner assessment if you haven't already, and have a great rest of your Friday. I'll see you, or maybe I won't. Maybe I will, on Monday. Bye-bye. Be safe.